Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the Iron Bark Podcast. I am your host, Epion, and you know what we're going to talk about today? Well, this week, something happened with an influencer. And guess what? It's in my wheelhouse. It involves wildlife, conservation, the outdoors, other outdoor enthusiasts, conservation influencers. Anyway, I'm going to talk about the Sam Jones Wombat incident. And it's an interesting thing. I want to give her the most fair analysis and criticism possible. She is being heavily vilified, probably a little bit too much. I don't know. We're going to unpack it a bit. There's definitely some criticisms there that need to be addressed, and there is some vilification that maybe is too much, but we're going to dig into it. We're going to dig into it here. I'm going to start off by... Let's see, I'm going to play the audio. I'm going to play the audio from the video. It doesn't really give you a whole lot without the video, but you can probably go and find it yourself. I actually came across this before it blew up and I saw it and it bothered me. And I was going to comment, but at that time the comments had already been disabled. And it bothers me whenever I see outdoor nature and wildlife, I guess influencers or content creators going about it the wrong way. And this is an example of it going about it the wrong way. So let's see if we can get this to play here.
Just caught a baby wombat. Look at the mother. It's like, oh, it's chasing after us.
I caught a baby wombat. Okay, Mama's right there, and she is pissed. Let's let him go.
No, he's right.
All right, let's let him go. Come here, Mama. Come here.
Just caught him.
So that's the audio. Essentially, we see the woman go to the side of the road, pick up a baby wombat, lift it up, carrying it like a cat, basically, with her arms out forward, bringing it towards the vehicle. The man in the car is kind of laughing at it, which is kind of an indication to me, to some extent, that they're kind of having like a bit of a laugh about it. And then she brings it over to the car. They identify in the video that the mom is worried, concerned, trying to get her baby back. The mom actually came from the side of the grass and the upside the road to like the actual car door. And then eventually the mom gave up and went back to the bush, maybe just sort of accepting that the fate of her child or whatever. That's usually what they'll do. It seems kind of sad, right? It's and this is where the criticism part's going to come in. And for those of you who don't know who Sam Jones is, she's an influencer known for hunting and outdoor enthusiast stuff. But so here's where the criticisms come in. A lot of people will see, Steve Irwin type stuff where, the crocodile hunter, and he's picking up like an animal and he's showing it to people. A lot of the time, those animals were zoo animals. They were like domesticated. And when they weren't, it was being done for scientific reasons, scientific research, biologists. A lot of that stuff was approved and funded by the government or universities and that sort of thing. It was legal, all that stuff. People see that and they don't realize there's like a big length of approvals needed, qualifications, all that kind of stuff, a purpose. So influencers see that and they're like, oh, I can be Steve Irwin. I can be Steve Irwin. They just see animals, they go pick them up. I'm Steve Irwin now. And they may not have the best education to know, all that animals like temper, like their temper, its behavior, that type of season, what's it up to, what's it doing, why is it acting the way it is, why is it beside the side of the road, like all these different things, There's a whole multitude of information to know about animals. So if you're just, someone with a camera on a cell phone, I'm sorry, you're not a biologist. And I don't know if Sam Jones is a biologist or not, but even so, if they were, depending on the jurisdiction they are in, they may not have the authority to do what they are doing. So that's sort of the criticism there. Now it seems like because she's like an outdoor influencer and content creator, whatever, it seems like there's a big incentive for her to have some sort of interaction with wildlife and nature. So she goes and grabs it, and people are like, "Oh, what? Why would she do that?" And I think she released a statement. We're going to read her statement, and I think she said she was worried that the wombat was going to get hit by a car or something like that. Maybe, but yeah, I don't know. It seems like there's a larger likelihood that she was doing it for clicks and views and likes and like online sensationalism than she was for the better interest of the animal. So when you interact with animals, even as a photographer, a videographer, you don't want to startle the animal. You want to have a very large zoom lens, and you want to document them from a distance. And the reason you want to document them from a distance is because if you want to accurately depict how they are in the wild, you have to be undetectable to them. Because if they detect you, they're going to start acting differently. They're going to be, evasive. They're going to be kind of on alert. They're going to be watching. They're going to be very like sort of nervous, and they're not going to be acting as if they were naturally. And what you want to capture is how they are in the wild, naturally, uninhibited by humans. In this instance, you're not really getting how the animal acts in the wild. You're sort of getting how it reacts in conflict with humans, and that's not a nice thing to see. That's not an educational thing to see. And when you do this, when you startle them, even from a distance, if you're not actually grabbing them, they consume calories, and consuming calories is a big deal to them, whether it's for fight or flight. So when they're defending themselves, they're going to expend calories. When they're running from predators, they're going to expend calories. Now, in the wild, it's a harsh and vicious place. They need all the calories they can get, and they don't want to run a calorie deficit. When they have to waste it on a person, it may be further detrimental to that animal down the road when it's trying to survive in the wild. This is something we call them Turons. They're like morons, but tourists. You see them doing this in Yellowstone National Park. You see them doing it in Banff National Park, where they get really close to bears, buffalo, elk, etc., and it's just kind of like moronic behavior, and they're not very considerate of the animal. In this situation, I don't know. It seems like they know like the mother's in distress. They kind of identify that. I don't know. They released the baby wombat back to the mother, but it's not really seen in the video. That's apparently something that she said in her statement. I'm not entirely sure. I got to read the statement here. I'm going to read you her statement. I'm going to go to the Instagram here. The statement is interesting. Okay. Let's see here. Press release for immediate release. My official statement regarding the Wombat incident. This statement is provided in full and should not be excerpted or altered without permission. This is the only public statement I have made regarding this incident. And I've seen multiple different like news sites kind of quoting her and saying things, so I don't know how true those things are. When we found the mother and Joey on the road, not moving, I was extremely concerned. As wombats are so often hit on Australian roads, I stopped to ensure that they got off the road safely and didn't get hit. If this was the circumstance, that might be acceptable, but I don't know if handling it would be the best choice. Like, even when you're rescuing maimed or hurt animals, I think there's sort of like, you're supposed to have a box. You're supposed to put them in the box. You're not supposed to touch them directly with your hands. You're supposed to have gloves to protect yourself from being bitten. You don't want to get your scent on them. You want to have a small blanket for them as well. There's like sort of like a protocol that a lot of wildlife rehabilitation places will kind of give you like a 411 on. However, as it was seen from the video, when I walked up to them, the joey did not move or run off. I was concerned it may have been sick or injured, and made a snap judgment to pick up the joey and see if it was the case. I ran not to rip the joey away from its mother, but from fear she might attack me. The snap judgment I made in these moments was never from a place of harm or stealing the Joey. While I was unbelievably excited to see such an amazing animal, I looked it over quickly and immediately and returned it to its mother. I ensured that the mother and the Joey did reunite, went off together, and that they got off the road. I hope so. I hope that was the case. I have done a great deal of reflection on this situation and have realized that I did not handle the situation as best as I should have. Regardless, my only intent was to prevent these amazing animals from being hit and making sure the Joey wasn't in need of immediate care. I have learned from the situation and truly sorry for the distress I have caused. I want to make it absolutely clear that it was never about social media or getting likes. This was not staged, nor was it done for entertainment. In my excitement and concern, I acted too quickly and failed to provide the necessary context to viewers. You know what? When I read that, it's like, it's impossible to prove, right? There's no video footage of like them. She doesn't really make any indication that she's checking to make sure it's not injured. There's no mention of that. But if we're going to give her the benefit of the doubt and, if that it exists as a possibility, that could have been her intent. Could be true. Could be true. So it's hard to, a lot of people are going to be like, yeah, sure, buddy. Okay, well, maybe not, but do we have evidence to the contrary? All we really have is circumstantial, right? Like, we know she picked up the animal. There was never any mention of it being harmed or wondering if it's okay, this and that. Bringing it over to the vehicle, recording it. They're sort of identifying that the mother's stressed out. And then there's no video footage of the animal being reunited with its mom. Which you could argue, if she was trying to do it for likes and views, trying to make like a sweet video, like a heartwarming video or something like that, that they would have tried to capture footage regarding that. Or there would have been something in the footage of them saying, oh, this baby Joey, like it might be injured. We have to go save it. Let's go check to make sure it's okay. Lots of continuity, right? It's interesting. It's interesting. It's an interesting thing. It's hard to say if the Joey was even on the road in the video. It could have just been off to the side of the road. But I'm all about giving people the benefit of the doubt and also second chances and to hear their side of the story. And it doesn't seem too unreasonable, but it's going to be extremely hard for Sam to convince a lot of people that what she was doing was genuine and in the best interest of the animal, because she is a content creator and an influencer. So it's always going to seem like it's being done for likes and stuff like that. You're never going to escape that sort of stigma. It's just the way it is. And especially because there's so many influencers out there that just will stoop to any level just to get likes and stuff like that, that you're instantly just going to get roped in and categorized with all those other people. The other thing is all the animal lovers out there, because Sam's a hunter, they're just going to say, oh, animals are nothing more than a resource to you. You're just about like extraction and benefit, which isn't necessarily true. I don't know Sam. I don't know what her mentality is with animals. And I don't think hunting is bad. I think people can hunt when it's appropriate, in line with the rules and regulations. And I have my own beliefs about hunting too. Like, I don't believe in rifles. Kind of believe more in bows and stuff like that. But that's a debate as well. Yeah, I don't know. Like, she released another statement. I'm going to go over that. This one is interesting, because I feel like in this one, she's a bit more pissed off. I feel like she feels like she's probably being treated unfairly because it's getting a lot of media coverage and a lot of news outlets are discussing it. So I feel like this is sort of like a FU back to like the Australian government. And sorry, for the people that don't know this whole thing, I'm pretty sure she's an American. She went to Australia on a visa, and then they were reviewing her visa. They were going to like kick her out of they were going to deport her and kick her out of the country, but then she hightailed it out of there before that could happen. Apparently, allegedly, that's what the news articles are saying. But I digress. I don't know for sure, but we'll check it out here. Okay, so this is like a second post that she made, and it's interesting because I feel like she's maybe being picked on a little bit too much, but I think like what this might actually be by the media doing this is them pushing it back against sort of like influencer culture where it's like do it for the views, like do it for the Vine, whatever, all these like pranks and going above and beyond. And they're just trying to say like, no, like we don't care. Like we're even if you were not being as, villainous or vile as we say you are, we want this to be like a red line and a warning to anyone else who plans on doing this here. And so we're going to make an example out of you. That might be what's happening. So let's just kind of deep dive into this a little bit here. We're going to read the statement, the second one. Am I a villain? Things, dear reader, are not as they seem. Over holding a wombat, thousands threaten my life. Now, you should not threaten another person's life, safety, or integrity. This is not her statement. This is me saying it. I have to interject here. Don't threaten her. Are you dumb? Don't threaten people. Okay, she picked up a wombat. That was a bad thing to do. You can explain to her why that was a bad thing. You don't even have to call her names. You don't have to threaten her. Don't stoop that low. You don't fucking threaten people. That bothers me because I value the life of a wombat, but I also value the life and sort of like I value the life of a human as well, and like their emotional state and all that stuff. And she's probably under a lot of stress right now. She's probably under a lot of stress. And I know I'm doing a podcast, but maybe she listens to it, she'll hear it and she'll be like, fair. He wasn't a dick about it. But and I might be a dick later because I kind of want to have like a comedy part where I just kind of like take the piss out of her, but it'll be in good fun. Hopefully. I don't know. I'll think about it. I don't even know if I have good material. It'd be off the top of my head. Let's see here. So let's continue back to her statement. Over holding a wombat, thousands threaten my life. Let me be clear. These same people ought to understand the reality of Australia today. For the readers that are so angered by my mistaken attempt to help and that I am a hunter, do not be blind to your country. So what she's saying here, sorry, now I'm getting out of her statement, is basically she's kind of saying, it sounds like she's blaming the country, which is weird. It's kind of like an obfuscation of like accountability in a way to me. Like it kind of seems like that. It's like, yeah, I might have done something wrong, but these people over here, they're doing something way worse. They're doing something way, way worse. And I don't even know if what she's saying in the statement is true or not. It might be half and half. Who knows? It might be entirely true. It might be entirely not true. But even if it were true, two wrongs don't make a right. So you can't say like I did something wrong, but these people are doing something worse, so that makes what I did justified. No, that's not how it works. But anyway, I'm going to go back into the article. Let's start with wombats, or not the article or statement. Let's start with wombats. The Australian government allows and permits the slaughter of wombats. Thousands each year are shot, poisoned, to suffer, and trapped legally. Landowners rip up wombat burrows with heavy machinery, poison them with fumigation, and shoot them wherever they can. Quietly, of course, so as not to face the wrath that has come upon me. So this is interesting. This is like, it's kind of weird because it says it's done legally in like the first part of the paragraph, and then it says they're doing it quietly, or I guess maybe this is all done quietly, legally quietly, so that the public isn't outraged by it, which could be true. Like there are tons of like pests and like stuff like that, like protocols. But here's the thing. If it's being done legally, okay, like a lot of jurisdictions around the world, especially in the Commonwealth, have wildlife laws that say do not harass wildlife, do not be within X amount of meters of them, et cetera, et cetera. And there's all kinds of like exceptions, like if it like just randomly attacked you and you were far away from it, like obviously you didn't try to harass it. But this is interesting. So it's like, because farmers are legally pest controlling, it therefore justifies my illegal harassment of wildlife. It seems like it's not apples to apples here, but it's kind of like maybe trying to bring awareness to like maybe a bigger issue involving wombats. Why might you ask? Going back to this statement, why might you ask? Do they kill them? Well, to feed you. The landowner is trying to survive, to raise you the lamb for your dinner table, the grapes for your wine, and the produce for your salads. Wombats get in the way of this, though, putting their holes and tunnels across the land, creating hazard for livestock and turning up the ground to eat roots. The wombat knows no better, as it too is merely trying to survive. Your government further spends tens of millions of taxpayer dollars annually to fly around in helicopters to shoot beautiful horses, deer, and pigs out its windows. A swift death is often not afforded to these animals. The Australian Government Department of Agriculture's research showed a percentage of animals end up painfully wounded and stated animal welfare outcomes could be improved with a nation-level standard operating procedure requiring helicopters to fly back over and shoot animals and repeatedly shoot animals in the head or thorax. Sound kind to you? Survival of these animals can become near impossible and their lives a constant state of fear. Their carcasses are then left on your public lands to rot. Your snowy river and Kosciuszko, sorry, I know I'm butchering that. If you're Australian and you're listening to this, you're hating me right now. National Park, Brumbies are being slaughtered and by the thousands on your dime. Speak to your Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese? See, I know nothing about your country, I'm sorry. About that. Loving the National Parks and Wildlife Service of Australia while being angered at me for killing feral deer for food is a hypocrisy at its finest. Okay, I'm just going to take a break from her statement. So basically, I think she's basically indicating there that a lot of people are just kind of stereotyping her, maybe unfairly, that because she's a hunter, she looks at animals as a pure resource and a form of extraction for value and nourishment, which even means clicks and views on social media. And she's saying that correlation is unfair, I think. I don't know. I think that's what she's trying to get across. And she's trying to say, like, you have other rules and regulations in place that aren't nice to animals. Like, obviously hunting isn't nice to animals, but it's also a part of the food chain. And when they're shooting these animals from helicopters, some of them are invasive species or they're problematic. And conservationists have determined we have to kind of get rid of this much amount. It's a whole fucking thing. And if you let it run rampant, they're just going to kind of annihilate the native species populations. This would be this could go on for another hour of a podcast for addressing this whole discussion about native versus invasive species and population control, all that stuff. I'm sure if you're a listener of this podcast, you are very familiar with that whole thing. And I digress, but she is making a good point that, okay, she hunts, but because she hunts, she's not a bad person. And there's plenty of stuff that government agencies and bodies do that also involve the termination of animals. So I'm going to continue on with her statement. How about the beloved kangaroo, the national animal on your coat of arms? In the last 20 years, approximately 90 million kangaroos and wallabies have been legally slaughtered for commercial purposes, and that number is not slowing down. Millions are legally killed each year, and they not deserved of government protection as native species? If you don't believe me, take a look around the next time you go to Woolworths, where you see a kangaroo in the flesh sold as a pet and human food. You see, as sad as it is, most of humanity selfishly cares far more about ourselves than we do about the natural world. In many articles, it was suggested that I go to see a wombat in a zoo instead. Let's be clear. Breeding and keeping wild animals in captivity to be imprisoned in a zoo for our gawking pleasure is a sin far more egregious than holding one for a moment in effort to help. While the Prime Minister wishes harm on me for picking up a wombat, I implore you to take a good, hard look at what is currently being done in Australia surrounding the real issues it faces, the lack of power or tens of thousands of Aussies, and the treatment of its native wildlife. Then decide for yourself if I, a person who certainly makes mistakes, am really your villain. Hold on, I need to drink something. I mean, the one thing that she's kind of overlooking here is that there could be two villains. Now, does she deserve what she, like, all this attention and stuff like that? She doesn't deserve all this negative attention. She doesn't deserve the death threats, that's for sure. Does she deserve the criticism? Yeah. She deserves criticism. Does she deserve to never be forgiven? No, there's forgiveness. There's definitely room for forgiveness. Especially if she like grows as a person and changes and makes like a positive difference to make up for like this little incident. Now, there's also something else to be said. There's no such thing as bad publicity. I'm sure right now it's stressful, but a year down the road, and she's gained probably way more followers and this and that and the other, and it's netted her a positive. It probably will, in hindsight, it probably won't look like that bad of a decision, but she can't keep doing that, right? But as long as she learns from it, you know, and she does something positive with it, turns it around, maybe she makes it. I don't know how much she makes as a content creator. I don't know if she's very big or successful, but if she ever does make it very big and successful, it'd be nice to see like maybe donate some money to like wildlife rescues or reserves, or maybe even open her own. You know, there's a lot of potential for growth here and a lot for positive to happen from this negative experience. And I don't want to discount her. I don't want to count her out. I think like there's some good room here for self-improvement, self-reflection, this and that. I kind of don't like the lack of accountability, but I do like how she's kind of showing like, hey, here's the comparisons to what you're mad at me for and what actually just happens legally. So, I mean, it's a weird comparison for the people. It's a good comparison to the people that are like very hard nosed and against everything. They're like, no hunting, no this, no that, no touch. But she could also be kind of forgetting here that the same people like threatening her may also like hate the government. They might not like be siding with like the government as well as siding with her. They might just hate everyone. So this whole statement was kind of like, I'm not exactly sure who it was to, because the people that are being over the top with her are probably also at odds with the government. And then the people who are giving her the benefit of the doubt are probably like reading it and being like, well, what you're describing is a bunch of legal activities and what you did is debatably illegal. And you know what I mean? So it's kind of like harassment of wildlife versus the legal hunting of wildlife. Like, even in the States, you can't do that. Like, if it's out of season, you know, there's like wildlife harassment laws. There's like, you know, poaching laws, that kind of stuff. But then you can do it legally as well. So I don't know. There's a bit of a little contrast there. I think with her, the best approach would have just been like, you know what? Like, okay, let's say everything benefit of the doubt. Maybe she did have a concern for the wombat. It would have been more believable had there been some express concern made in the video. Had there been the wombat shown on the road, in the middle of it, or somewhere in the road, as opposed to the side of the road in the video. Had there been some expression of like, I don't know, talking about like, where's the nearest wildlife refuge? Like, there was none of that kind of sort of thing. It was just sort of like on display, showing it off. But going forward, like, you know, I hope she listens to this. I hope she kind of like picks up a few things and goes like, oh, all right, you know what? Yeah, I should put gloves in my vehicle if I care about wildlife and help them on the side of the road. I should put a box in there. Like a little blanket or something. I should know where the wildlife refuges are, or like the rehabilitations. So if I have to drive there and know how to get there, I should have their number. I should have like their business card in my vehicle. Those are kind of things that I do. So it'd be nice if she did that. But also, I don't know. I feel like picking it up is probably not something I would do. I'm very apprehensive of picking up an animal. Like I have to be pretty certain that it's maimed or injured. And usually you can kind of tell by if you get close to it and it's not really reacting to you. But I don't know anything about wombats or their behavioral like characteristics. So I couldn't even tell you if like maybe how it was acting was just perfectly fine. Right? Like, I don't know. So it's hard to make a judgment here. Yeah, should I go into like the roast of her now? Should I just like try to roast her? I don't know. I don't know what I could say. I don't even know if I would be funny or just trying to be funny. Her Instagram, what's it say? For the truth regarding the Wombat incident, read my official statement here. These are my only official statements and the only account I am using. Well. This is the truth, the only truth. So you say, but you're an influencer. You could also be lying to preserve your good name and reputation. We can't trust you. You're an influencer. One of those dirty content creators. I had someone talk to me in Spaces on X recently, and they were like, because I said monetize, on my profile said monetize nature and wildlife content creator, and they're like, you shouldn't want to monetize nature. They kind of gave me flack for it. And I was like, dude, I don't know. I post videos and pictures of like flowers and landscapes. I shouldn't want to monetize that. Like, I'm not trying to like extract like the fucking resources out of it and sell it. I'm just taking a picture. What's wrong with a picture? And I know some of you are going to say, oh, if the flash is on at night, it's going to disturb the bugs. And okay, it's not at night. Chill. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like maybe she's getting too much flack. Yeah, too much flack. It would have been, I would be better to see a statement that was like, hey, I fucked up. I thought perhaps maybe it was injured or was near the side of the road. I wanted to pick it up, see if it had some injuries with it. The excited part makes sense. Like, I was excited and kind of like thrilled and like, I can't believe I'm having this like cool experience with an animal, though you shouldn't have that kind of experience with an animal. And so they're not really saying all the right things on tape. Or on the recording or whatever it's called. And it's like, I've looked into it now. I know I should probably wear gloves. There's a better way to kind of understand if an animal needs help or not. I made a poor judgment call because it didn't need help. Maybe I should have done a few more things before picking it up to make sure it didn't need help. This and that, blah, 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 blah. Have a box, this and that. I realize now that, when I'm interacting with wildlife, I don't want to trigger its flight or flight response or cause it anxiety or stress because it could be bad for the animal. It can cause it more difficulty in the wild because of its calorie deficit. I'm never going to do it again, and I'm going to, work to help wildlife. And maybe she does like a donation. Maybe she does this or that. I think you just got to fall on the sword. Like, people are pissed and they just want to, I think they just want to see a heartfelt apology, accountability. And I don't think they want to see like obfuscation of like pointing the finger at someone else who's doing worse. You're just creating more villains. You're not, if any of that's true. Or if it's accurate, I don't know. But I don't know. It does seem like it's really hard. It's really hard. I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt. But if she's listening to this, Sam, if you're listening to this, I think your real name's something else, but whatever. I'm calling you by your influencer name. If you are a hunter and if you are an influencer content creator, you have to be aware, and this is the best interest of yourself, that there are stigmas that are unfair and stereotypes, which are unfair, associated with influencers, content creators, and hunters. And it may not be fair, but even me, as a nature and wildlife content creator, I have to go to lengths to extinguish any of these stigmas or stereotypes. I don't know how many times I've posted a wildlife video of like a grizzly bear or something, and someone in the comments said, "You were too close," without having any knowledge whatsoever about the type of telescopic lenses I'm using, and to show that I'm well within the 400, I think it's like, 400 meter, 400 yard range of the bear. And then I have to make videos demonstrating the zoom of it. Like, here's the zoom. Here's where it actually was. Here's where it looks like. And I show it to people and they go, and I post that and they go, "Oh, I didn't know that." People will always assume the worst. And this is why we got to keep receipts. We got to defend ourselves. Going forward, if everything you say is true in your statement that you're interested in the best interest of the animal, if on video it was you in the car, okay, I have to go check if this animal is okay. You get out of the car, go make sure to check the animal okay. Take a bunch of steps before touching it or picking it up, like maybe clapping, trying to shoo it off the road, see if it's able to walk on its own. Once it's kind of shooed away from the road, oh, it walked away on its own with its mother, it's fine. And you sort of have all these steps documented of you doing your due diligence. When you just show the picking up of an animal on the side of the road and then sort of parading it back to your vehicle and identifying how upset the mother is and their sort of laughter at it, without all those other pieces in the video and the documentation, it's going to be extremely hard for anyone to believe that. And it could very well be true. I'm not saying it's not. But in order to protect yourself, your reputation, and because at the end of the day, these articles and stuff will exist. And if you want to defend yourself or sort of have like a way to like be like, hey, it's not as bad as you think it is, we need to keep receipts. We need to keep documentation of our genuine thoughts and our intentions. And it's unfortunate because sometimes the world wants villains, and they want to villainize people because a lot of the dragons that exist in the world today have already been slain. So now we have a lot of people with a foam sword swinging it around in a field looking to take on the next bad guy. So sometimes they invent bad guys. I don't know. I don't really know. We have her statement. I wish there was video evidence to support it. If you're asking me for my official stance, I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt. I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt. She doesn't seem like a horrible person. She doesn't seem like a bad person. She seems like a good person. So maybe she was good intended, right? Maybe. Maybe, baby. Maybe. That's 40 minutes of ranting about Sam, what's her name, Jones? Sam Jones? Was that who it was? Don't threaten her. Don't harass her. You know, she's human too. She's going to have feelings. She's going to feel badly about it. She's probably feeling more angry about it now that it's kind of been overly villainized. I would just like to see sort of like a growth and development arc, a kind of like a self-reflection arc, a introspective arc where she comes out of it, maybe puts a little bit more conservation thought behind her hunter thought. Because I know a lot of hunters and I know a lot of conservationists. Very rarely do their ideals sort of overlap, and they're sort of diametrically opposed sometimes. But I feel like the perfect hunter and the perfect conservationalist is well adapt to both of those worlds. So I implore all hunters to be a conservationalist, and I implore all conservationalists to go hunting. Anyway, I hope everyone enjoyed this episode of the podcast. I want to know what your thoughts are. What do you think? Do you think she's a big bad villain? Do you think a good person who made a dumb mistake? Do you think did she do it for the likes and the views and then it backfired? We don't know. What we do know is it was posted. And the only reason you post stuff on social media is, I don't know. There's a reason why you post things on social media. I don't know. Anyway, Sam, if you want to talk about it and you feel like I gave you a fair shake of the, what do you call it? Like shake of the hand, shake of the wrist? What do you call it? Like shake of the dice? Well, I can't remember what the fuck that expression is. If you feel like I gave you a fair shake and you want to have a mature discussion with someone who doesn't think you're a villain, who wants to clear the air, I think that'd be pretty cool. Anyways, anybody, I was going to dive into some of my ex content, but if that, we'll do, I feel like I gotta. All right, we're going to wrap up the podcast with a little bit of what I did this week in content creation, which is probably barely anything. All right. What do we got here? Profile. Doop. Bleeding followers constantly. Nothing new. Let's see. March 14th. Today is National Learn About Butterflies Day. Posted a little picture of, what do we call this? A horecoma. It's a type of butterfly. Did you know that moths and butterflies are a part of the order Lepidoptera? Did you know that butterflies typically have club-shaped antennae, while moths typically have feathery antennae? Now you do. There you go, a little fact for you guys. March 14th, I think that was the same day, yep, was International Day for Action Against Rivers. This is kind of funny. So I just posted, stop dumping garbage and waste into my rivers, bro. I drink from the river on my hikes and I don't want to catch your nonsense of an infection or some sort of contaminant that'll result in cancer or poisoning. Thanks. Yeah, kind of the gist of it, right? It's like, leave my river alone, son. Oh, I posted out a pretty funny one. So one time Elon Musk talked about miniature woolly mammoths as pets would be epic. And then I said, Atlas Bioscience is working on something sort of like that, minus the mini and pet part. And then it turns out they actually made like a hybrid with the woolly mammoth gene in a mouse. So it could be a pet. I doubt it will actually ever be like a pet, because if it got out, it would probably be horrible, but because they're cold resistant. But I guess I was wrong. Pretty that wrong. Key Deer Awareness Day was on March 11th. These are only found in the Florida Keys. And that brings me back to last week's podcast. All right, folks. Maybe we should talk a little bit about key deer here, because they're kind of interesting. So, March 11th is Key Deer Awareness Day. These endangered deer are found in the Florida Keys only. Approximately 6,000 to 12,000 years ago-ish, the Wisconsin Glacier melted, causing the water level surrounding the region to rise, which divided up the long peninsula into a bunch of little islands. The deer there remained stranded and isolated from their mainland relatives. They subsequently evolved over time and adopted various physical characteristics as well as behavior patterns best suited for living on the Keys. And I said, please practice caution while driving to avoid hitting one that strays onto the road, and do not poach. Kind of interesting. A little bit of interesting there. And that's it. That's it. That girl, that girl. That's all, folks. Until next week. Stay shiny, San Diego.